I'm Clara, 27, the one who thought I'd inherit Ashwood Designs, our family's furniture. Empire in London, until Dad shattered everything with one sentence. He said Miles needed it more than me. Miles is Sylvia's son, my stepmother's kid. A smug lump of stone who knows nothing about business. I smiled and walked out of that meeting room, but inside I was a storm waiting to burst. Then Gran Rosa's secret slammed into me like lightning. She left me a £2 million trust fund, mine alone if I built something from nothing by 30. While I poured my heart into Verdant Craft, Miles trashed Ashwood with safety scandals and debts. Dad came begging, a broken shell, but I'd already picked my own road. Those diaries Gran left behind rewrote everything I knew about family and myself. This isn't just about money or payback, it's about clawing my way up from betrayal, watching the mighty crumble, and finding out who I am when the truth comes out. Want to hear how it all went down? How I turned ashes into something alive? Sit down here, let me tell you my story. I sit at the long oak table in Ashwood Designs boardroom, our family furniture firm in London, my fingers tracing the grain of the wood as rain drums against the tall windows. The air hums with the quiet buzz of anticipation, my stack of blueprints spread before me, 3 years of late nights and ink-stained hands, woven into every curve and angle. This is my moment, the day I've worked for, the day I claim the legacy Granddad carved from nothing, and Dad promised I'd inherit. I adjust my gray sweater, the wool soft against my skin, and feel a flicker of pride, a soldier awaiting her stripes. My plans are ready, new designs for handcrafted tables, deals lined up with Camden boutiques, all polished and perfect. I sip my coffee, its chill biting my tongue, and murmur to myself that everything's set. Then the door swings open, sharp and sudden, snapping me upright. Dad strides in, his coat damp, Sylvia trailing behind in a stiff green dress, her lips a tight line like she's biting back a smirk, and Miles, her son, slouches after them, too, and blank-faced, a slab of stone with eyes that don't meet mine. Dad stops at the table's head, his shadow falling over my blueprints, and rests his hands on the chair, knuckles white like he's gripping something heavier than wood. I look up, my pulse quickening, expecting the words I've rehearsed in my head for months. He clears his throat, a rough scrape in the silence, and says he's decided to give the company to Miles because he needs it more than I do, Clara. His voice lands flat, cold as a ledger entry, no warmth, no doubt. The room tilts, the air turning thick and sour, like I've swallowed a lungful of smoke. Sylvia nods once, sharp and smug, her eyes glinting like polished glass. Miles smirks, a lazy twitch of his mouth, the look of a boy who's won a prize he doesn't care to keep. My hands freeze on the papers, the edges curling under my thumbs, and Dad's words claw at me. Needs it more, needs it more. A blade dragging slow across my chest, sharp enough to sting, but not yet deep enough to bleed. The oak walls I've known since I was a kid, walls that held my laughter and sketches now loom like a cage snapping shut. I want to scream, to shove the table aside and demand why, to hurl every midnight I spent perfecting Ashwood's books in his face, every dawn I greeted alone in this building while he slept. But my throat locks tight. I smile instead, a thin, brittle thing, fragile as mist curling over the Thames at dawn, and push my chair back. The scrape of its legs on the floor cuts through the quiet, and I stand, feeling Sylvia's stare prick my neck like a shard of ice. I don't turn to meet it. I walk out, my boots striking the polished boards, each step a hammer blow in my skull, pounding me loose from the life I thought was mine. The hallway air hits me, cool and biting, and I gulp it down, fighting the choke in my chest. My mind reels, those years at Ashwood racing past like a film reel jammed on fast forward. Every late-night sketch, every promise Dad made, splintering into dust. Anger simmers beneath my skin, but it's not ready to boil over. It's colder, heavier, like a stone sinking through my ribs, settling deep where I can't touch it yet. Outside, the rain soaks through my sweater, cold pinpricks waking me from the haze. I think of Gran Rose, her voice soft under the garden tree as she showed me how to sandwood smooth, her stories of Ashwood's scrappy start filling my childhood. She said I'd find a way even if they buried me in shadows, her words a faint glow now, flickering against the dark, swallowing me. My phone buzzes in my pocket and I fish it out, rain streaking the screen. Sophie's voice crackles through, urgent and loud, asking if I'm okay. I say not sure, but I will be, my words steady even as my hand shakes, the lie tasting bitter on my tongue. I end the call and stand under the awning, the street a blur of wet headlights. That smile I gave Dad wasn't weakness, wasn't defeat. It was a spark, a quiet vow I'd keep burning, no matter how hard they tried to snuff it out. I shove my hands into my pockets, step into the downpour, and let it wash over me. The weight of loss pressing down, but something else rising too, raw and unnamed, whispering that this isn't the end. I shoved through the creaking door of Miss Harper's office, Grand Rose's solicitor, my boots scuffing the faded floorboards as the stale scent of leather and paper hits me, sharp against the damp clinging to my coat from yesterday's storm. My hands twitch, restless from that boardroom sting, and I drop into the chair. It's grown loud in the cramped space. Ms. Harper, all angles and piercing eyes, stares at me over her cluttered desk, then pushes a yellowed envelope my way, its corners worn thin like it's been hiding too long. I snatch it up, my pulse already thudding, and rip it open, the tear slicing through the quiet like a snapped thread. Inside, I see a trust fund, £2 million, mine alone. But only if I build a thriving business by 30, 3 years away, and Dad's name is nowhere, no grip, no say. My breath snags, the page trembling in my hands, and Ms. Harper's voice cuts in, dry as ash, saying, Rose knew Edward would do this, knew he'd toss me aside. I blink fast, my eyes catching Gran's handwriting, tight and sure, for your wings to soar, and it crashes over me, a flare bursting through fog, not just cash, but a rope flung across a chasm, her belief etched in ink, a shield she forged when I didn't even know I'd need one. I slump back, the envelope hot against my thighs, my mind a tangle of sparks and shadows, heart pounding with something jagged, not joy but a clock's relentless tick. 3 years stretching out like a tightrope I've got to cross. I see Miles in my head, that smirk twisting as he fumbles Ashwood, splintering it like dry wood under a careless boot, and a fire kicks up inside me, not the slow burn of anger but a fierce, spitting ember, a torch lit against Dad's cold cut. I've poured years into Ashwood, twisting myself to fit his mold, and now Gran's cracked it open, handed me a blank page to write my own story, to prove I'm more than his discard. I grip her note, tracing the words, and mutter, all right, Gran, I'll do it, my voice a low growl in the stillness, a pact sealed with her ghost, and the part of me that's still standing. I don't have a plan, not yet, but that ember's flaring, chasing out the chill Dad carved into me, and I hold it close, letting it sear away the doubt clawing at my edges. I bolt from the office, the envelope jammed in my bag, and hit the street, drizzle slick in my face as London's gray pulse thrums around me. My thoughts spin wild, furniture shapes flickering in my mind, designs Ashwood sneered at, too bold, too green, sketches I'd scratched out in the dark when no one cared. I see the firm's old bones, all gloss and no guts, and feel a hunger to build something alive, something that bends with the world, not against it. My boots slap puddles, water soaking my jeans, and Gran's voice hums in my ears saying I'd find a way, her faith a thread pulling me through the haze. I duck under a shop front, yank out my phone, and call Sophie, my voice sharp with a thrill I can't hide. I say I've got £2 million, but it's got strings, and she yells, what? Her shout punching through the line like a fist through glass. I laugh, raw and reckless, telling her, pub tomorrow, I need you, and cut the call before her questions swamp me, my blood racing with a mix of dread and drive. I press against the wall, rain dripping overhead, and that smile I gave Dad morphs in my memory, no longer brittle, but a weapon I'm forging, a edge I'll wield to cut my own path. I stride home, the city a wet blur, my bag thumping my side, and let my brain run loose, stitching together what this could be. I see Gran's eyes, bright under her garden tree, her hands guiding mine over rough wood, her tales of Ashwood's scrappy birth when it was hers and Granddad's fight, not Dad's throne. She saw him clear, saw this betrayal brewing, and slipped me this key, a chance to rise when he thought I'd fall. I unlock my flat, collapse on the couch, and fish out the envelope, rereading her note until my vision blurs. Not with tears, but with a fire. I won't let die. 3 years, 2 million pounds, a clean slate, it's a mountain, a dare, but it's mine, and that's fuel enough. I think of Miles, of Dad, of Ashwood buckling under their clumsy hands. And that ember steadies, a blaze I'll stoke until it lights up everything they tried to dim. I toss the envelope on the table, pace the room, restless, a plan twitching to life, thin as a shoot breaking soil, but growing, telling me I'm not finished, not even close. I throw myself into Verdant Craft, my green furniture dream, the workshop alive with the bite of sawdust and the groan of tools as Sophie and I claw our way forward. Fueled by late-night sketches and pitches barked over pub tables, our voices raw and hands calloused. Months blur into a gritty haze, and then it lands. A contract with a Brighton eco-hotel chain, my chairs now gleaming in their lobby, each curve a shard of me shaped into wood, proof I can build something that lasts. I'm mid-cut on a plank one sharp morning when rumors stab through the den, Ashwood's crumbling, Miles drowning it in fines and chaos, clients fleeing like sparks from a dying fire. I shove it aside, my focus locked on Verdant. That ember from Grand's gift, now a roaring blaze, but the door bangs open and Dad lurches in, Miles trailing like a shadow, their faces gaunt, clothes rumpled like they've been running from ghosts. Dad's voice cracks through the air, "Clara, save me, we're family." And Miles mumbles he never wanted it, never cared. His scuffed boots kicking dust as if it's all a bad joke. I stand rooted, saw still buzzing in my grip, staring at them. 2 wrecks washed up by their own tide, and my chest caves. A storm of old wounds and iron will, clashing loud enough to deafen me. I nearly snap, words clawing up my throat every night I bled for Ashwood. Every vow Dad torched, ready to spill like acid, but they stick. Bitter as cinders, and I choke them down. I say you made your call, I made mine, my voice a steel wire, taut and unyielding, and spin back to my plank, slicing through it, the shriek of the blade swallowing Dad's ragged exhale. His gaze bores into my back, a hollow weight I feel through my sweater, and Miles shuffles out, a kick dog slinking off, but I keep cutting, my hands firm even as my ribs ache, a furnace roaring where my heart should be. Sophie edges close after they're gone, her whisper fierce, "You don't owe them a damn thing." And I jerk a nod, her truth a lifeline, but the sting burrows deeper, a thorn twisting between guilt and rage, pricking at the edges of my resolve. I carve on, wood shavings curling like smoke, and tell myself Verdant's my anchor, its roots gripping while Ashwood sinks. Yet Dad's plea haunts me, a chain I can't quite snap. That night my phone jolts me awake, news flashing, Miles has bolted. Sylvia's cut Dad loose. Ashwood's a husk stripped bare, and his call follows, voice splintered. "I was wrong, Clara. Forgive me." I clutch the phone, thumb hovering, and type, "Sunday, let's talk," my breath short. No clue what I'll face when the day comes. I slump against the couch, the workshop's echo still pounding in my skull, sawdust dusting my hair like ash from a past I can't shake. Verdant's rising, Brighton's deal, a banner I've planted, and I feel it. A root cracking stone apart, but Dad's broken rasp coils around me, a fog I can't outrun, heavy with the weight of what was. I see Gran Rose in my mind, her knuckles rough as she steadied my hands over timber, her promise I'd climb from shadows, and I grapple, would she turn him away or mend the break? I've got her fire, not her grace, and it holds me up, keeps me from buckling under his ruin. I pace my flat, rain slashing the windows like a restless beast, and picture Miles, his smirk erased, Dad's empire ash under his feet. And it cuts, not with glee but a dull pang. A family I knew now a pile of rubble. I snag a glass, gulp water, the cold biting my throat, but my head spins. Verdant's climb tangling with Ashwood's crash, my freedom stitched to Dad's fall. I halt by the glass, London's wet gleam flickering below, and that blaze inside me shifts. No longer wild, but a steady glow, a ember I'll guard until I choose my next step. I don't hate Dad, not now, just weary of his weight, and Miles is a phantom I won't hunt. Sophie's right, I owe them nothing, but that thorn digs in. A thread still hooked to the wreck, whispering what if I'd fought harder then. I shake it off, slam the glass down, the workshop scent clinging to me, a vow of what I've forged, what I won't lose. Sunday's coming, a storm I'll weather, not as the girl who walked away smiling, but as someone carved by flame and ash, standing tall, breathing sharp, alive. I swipe my phone, scan Ashwood's end, and let it sink. Not a win, but a door slamming shut, leaving me to kick the next one wide, whatever lies beyond. I stand in Verdant Craft's workshop, the air sharp with cedar and the roar of saws, my hands scarred from months of relentless work as orders surge. Brighton's deal just the start, until I claim Grand's trust early, 2 million pounds crashing in before my 30th birthday, a triumph I've clawed from nothing. I funnel it into the Rose Ashwood Fund, a spark for kids with grit and gleam, every signature a stone laid in a legacy, not just mine but hers, her voice ringing in every soul I pull from the dirt. Rain hammers my flat late one afternoon when a knock splits the quiet, and I swing the door wide to find Dad, his coat dripping, frame bent like a snapped branch, a battered box of Grand's diaries clutched tight in his trembling hands. He steps in, boots dragging, and rasps, "I'm proud of you, Clara," his voice a jagged edge slicing through me, a blade I didn't brace for. I slam the kettle on, pour tea with steady hands, and say, "I'll meet you Sunday, Dad, but this is mine alone," my words hard as flint, no bend, no crack. He nods, gulps the tea, and shuffles out, the diaries left like a weight I'm not sure I want. And I lock the door, the storm's howl clawing at the glass as I fight them alone. I drop onto the couch, pry the box open, and Grand's diaries spill out, her script a tight weave of dreams, a business alive with purpose, not profit, a vision Ashwood strangled under Dad's grip, now staring back at me like a reflection I've chased without knowing. My chest seizes, a flood rising fast, not tears but a raw swell, her trust in me scratched across years, a lantern she lit before I knew the dark was coming. I bolt up, pace the floor, the rain a wild drumbeat as my own storm quiets, and I feel my world tilt, a path breaking free, a river smashing through rock, mine to claim, mine to shape. The truth came out, I think, not the trust, not Ashwood's ash, but me, unbowed by their chains, a woman tempered in flame, rooted deep in soil. I broke myself. I see Gran and those kids I fund, their fierce eyes mirroring hers under that garden tree, her lessons etched in my marrow, and this isn't payback, it's flight, a legacy I've seized, not begged. I snatch my phone, hammer out a post, cut a ribbon today for a lad's dream, nearly broke watching him soar, more coming, watch this space, and hit send. A grin cracking my face, Dad's ruin a faint echo I've outrun. I stalk to the window, London's wet pulse flashing below, and that fire inside me burns bright, a forge I've stoked through every gale, not feral now but fierce, a beacon I'll carry on. Dad's out there, a wreck I'll face Sunday, and I don't hate him, not anymore, just ache from his weight, his pride a knot I'll untie or sever when I choose. Miles is dust, Sylvia too, Ashwood a grave I've walked past, and I'm loose, not from spite but from hunger. There fall a boulder I've vaulted, not stumbled over. I think of Sophie, her sharp nod pulling me straight, and those kids, their futures braided with mine, and it slams home, Gran's real gift wasn't cash but spine, the grit to rise, to lift others as I climb. I grab a mug, brew tea, the steam twisting like her whisper, and drink deep, the heat anchoring me against the storm's snarl. Sunday's a ledge I'll step to, maybe patch something brittle with Dad, maybe not. But Verdant's my blood, the fun's my bones. And I'm whole, not for them, but for me, for her, for the girl who smiled through the cut and forged her way here. I slam the mug down, flip the diaries again, her dreams my bedrock now, and feel the tempest fade, inside and out, a stillness washing over me like dawn after a brutal night. I'm not finished, not close, new fights brewing in my skull, new roots to sink, but I've got steel, got flame, got a name I've forged anew. I stalked back to the glass, whispered to Gran. We made it, my voice low and fierce. A pact honored across time. I swiped my phone, scanned the replies. Kids roaring, Sophie barking her cheer and let it land. This isn't over. Just a chapter flipped, a tale I'll keep scratching out. Not for glory, but for the sheer damn thrill of it. I snapped the diaries shut, shoved them on the shelf, and stand tall, rain softening to a hum, alive, unbroken, primed for whatever's next. A legacy not handed down but rested, mine to wield, mine to grow. So here I am, standing at the end of this wild ride, Verdant humming, Gran's diaries on my shelf, and Dad's echo fading into something I can finally face. Looking back, I've learned the hard way that true legacy isn't what's handed to you. It's what you wrestle from the dirt, what you build when the ground's still shaking. Ashwood's fall taught me I don't need someone else's throne to sit tall. And Gran's trust showed me the real prize is the fight, not the finish line. I'm not the girl who smiled through that blade anymore. I'm the woman who turned it into a tool, and that's the bit I'll carry forward. What about you? What's your take on all this? Would you have faced Dad down like I did, or let him back in sooner? Could you build from betrayal, or does it hit different for you? Drop your thoughts below. I'd love to hear how this lands with you, what you'd do in my boots. This isn't the end, just a breather, so stick around. I'll be back with more soon, promise. See you in the next chapter.